Arizona is passing a new law, and it has caused a ruckus throughout the country, to say the least. People are up in arms for good reason. The House passed it, the Senate just passed it in Arizona, and then it's going up to the governor, and we're going to find out if she's going to sign it or not. And it says, look, if you are there's a reasonable suspicion that you're an illegal immigrant, well then we need to see official documents saying that you belong in the country. Okay. Now, look, that's an interesting situation because on the one hand, I'm not that opposed to that. Okay. Now, a lot of people freak out over that, right? And I get it for why, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. But I can't have you doing it at the local 7-Eleven. Like, if you say, hey, do you have car insurance and you're not driving, you have a car, I didn't see you driving, but you need to bring in your car insurance to court later. Okay, I mean, I could live with it, right? We can have a conversation. So you need to bring in your papers later. I can have a conversation about that. But I can't have you pulling people over based on your reasonable suspicion that they look Mexican and saying, okay, give me your papers. Come on, come on. Well, who carries around their papers? I never carry on my papers. Do you? Right? What papers? Okay, do I have to carry around my passport? Now, the thing is, if you don't look like you're from Latin America, my guess is they're not going to ask you for your papers. And, of course, that's where the problem comes in. Now, Arizona actually also passed a law, to be fair to Arizona, saying, hey, if your employers that are knowingly hiring illegal immigrants, you will be, that's also illegal, and you'll be open to sanctions, fines, etc., penalties, etc., right? Now, that's good because if you really want to solve illegal immigration, you have to dry up the demand, and the demand is driven by the employers. Everything else is a joke. I mean, if people continue to get hired here, of course they're going to come. And everybody knows how you crack down on illegal immigration. Everybody knows it's the employers. But usually we don't do anything about it. But look, it's all in the enforcement, right? So what in the 2 years that it's been law, how many times have they gone after employers? Twice. Okay, so they almost never go after employers. Whereas the guy on the street, is he going to get pulled over? Of course. And when they ask people, hey, isn't this going to lead to racial profiling? Some people, one of the Republicans disingenuously said, no, of course not. I mean, you have to understand, most of them are Mexican, though. Of course it's going to lead to racial profiling. What do you think, they're going to pull over the Swedish people in Arizona? So that's the problem with the law, if you ask me. Now, John McCain seems to be in favor of it. He put out a statement seeming to support it, but he was a little non-committal because later, because he's in a Republican primary now, because he wants to be like, yeah, goddamn immigrants. But when he goes to the general election, he wants to be able to say, oh, no, I didn't. No, I love immigrants, right? So he says he's not officially supporting it necessarily, although he did have positive things to say about it. But put that aside, we get a lot more fun. He's got a great theory on the real problem of illegal immigrants in Arizona. He's on the O'Reilly program. Let's watch.
Next week, the governor's going to sign, we believe, a very stringent state law that gives the police in Arizona very, very broad authority to question people. And a lot of people say it's going to be racial profiling. You're going to look for Hispanics, question them to see if they're here illegally or not, and it's just not fair. And you say what?
I say that the federal responsibilities have not been fulfilled. Therefore, the states are acting. The state of Arizona is acting and doing what they feel they need to do in light of the fact that the federal government is not fulfilling its fundamental responsibility to secure our borders.
But
our
what about the racial profiling? You know
that's
going to happen. It has to happen.
I hope. I would be very sorry that if some of that happens, and I regret it, but I also regret really, it's not just the murder of Robert Krentz. It's the people whose homes and property are being violated. It's the drive-by the drivers of cars with illegals in it that are intentionally causing accidents on the freeway. Look, our border's not secured. Our citizens are not safe.
No, that was awesome. That was awesome. They're intentionally causing accidents on the freeway? Goddamn Americans. No, come on. No one can really believe that, can they? Of course, the great irony is uh, every once in a while you'll see somebody on the road here in LA, right? And I understand there's some illegal immigrants in Los Angeles. I don't know if you knew that. And they'll be driving like 15 miles an hour. I mean, and I'm like, dude, come on, let's move it. And I'm like, I bet you, and I'm just speculating here. I'm like, I bet you that guy's got no papers. Okay, he's like, I'm not getting pulled over. So, but in McCain's mind, these guys, they come in here, they're driving out of control. They're like, yeah, I can't wait for a cop to pull me over and ask me if I'm illegal or not. And then they smash into people. In which world? Why would they do that? And then did you catch the first part of it? I love that. He has preemptive regret for the racial profiling they're about to do. He's like, I regret it, but that's just life. Is it going to happen? Oh, don't make me say it again. Of course it's going to happen, as they almost all admit. Finally, look, again, the problem isn't the law itself, because they said, look, in my opinion, state crime. It would now be a state crime for illegal immigrants not to have alien registration document. I think they should have that document. I can see why you would make that illegal. Some people say, no, you shouldn't. But the second part of it is that it would require police to question people about their immigration status if there's a reason to suspect they're in the country illegally, right? Now, I think, logically speaking, if you applied it right, what are you going to require the police not to ask? I mean, if they think somebody's an illegal immigrant and they have a reasonable suspicion of that, as is the law states, I think it makes sense to ask. But unfortunately, that's not how it's applied. And even cops are complaining about this. Half the cops in Arizona are saying, hey, look, we need cooperation on investigations, right? And so if I'm required to ask every guy that I think might be an illegal immigrant based on what? You know what it's based on, race. Anyway, if I have to ask them about that, it's going to scare them. It's going to make them not want to talk to me when I got to solve my case on whether it's a robbery, murder, whatever it is, right? So half of the cops think it's a bad idea. So, and in the end, it's all in the enforcement, and I can guarantee you, as we've seen already with the enforcement from the 05 and 07 laws, the 07 law was the one I told you about against employers, which almost never gets enforced, and in 2005, they made human smuggling a state crime. They said, don't worry, we're only going to go after the smugglers. And they overwhelmingly applied it to the people being smuggled, the actual immigrants, and not to the smugglers. It's all in the enforcement, and that's where the real problem lies. And if Arizona passes this and the governor signs it, you're going to hear a lot of ugly stories coming out of Arizona. That's my guess.